Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Business Solutions Circle Up. My name is Jim Tanner. I'll be your host for the event today. As we get started, we're going to be going right to our guest speaker in a moment. But I just want to take a second and welcome you. It is Monday, October 16th. This is really we're starting the halfway point into the second half, I should say, of the month of October. So I think it's a great time to evaluate where you are. Are you halfway to the October that you have planned for yourself? And if not, what adjustments can you make? And maybe today will help you with some of those adjustments as we move forward. But let's just take a quick look at the month so far, because before I hit record, I was just saying, man, it feels like we've already had an entire month. And of course, I know why that is, because we have packed a lot of great information into the first part of the month. I mean, we started this month together in Dallas, Texas, learning about all of the reveals, the new bonuses, the additions to the compensation plan, 50 more spots on our solutions or full service associate leaderboard to join us on next year's Performance Club trip. I'll go over all of that with slides and flyers in a few moments. But we just have a lot of information. And with all that information came a lot of intensity and focus, concentration on making the most of that. So I first of all, congratulate you for being serious about your business, being plugged into what's going on and moving forward with focus on capturing all that's available to you. And I hope today's Circle Up will help you with that. So as is our normal agenda, we're going to our speaker first to give our speaker plenty of time to impart wisdom and talk about, in this case, his journey in this incredible company so far. But before I bring Mr. Mike Bishop on, let me just say this, that Mike and I, and he'll tell his own version of this story, but we have been people that have run into each other at events for many years now, had all these great opportunities to chat, sometimes just in line at registration at a convention or some moment where we have a few minutes to talk to each other. And we've always, I think, maybe he'll dispute this, felt like we really hit it off. But recently I got to travel out to the Pacific Northwest and spend some time both in Washington and in Oregon. And that's where I really got to bond with this gentleman and really understand that this is someone who is truly and deeply focused on using this business, what we do, as a catalyst for massive change in communities. This is someone that absolutely knows exactly how to build this business the right way. And I'm so excited that he's going to be spending time with us here today. So I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Mike Bishop, ring earner extraordinaire, field trainer, and basic expert all around when it comes to Legal Shield. Mike, we're so excited to have you here with us today. We're going to turn it over to you, sir. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. I appreciate that. And well, you say we ran into each other. What you don't know is probably that I was stalking you. So you ran into me, but you've always been a shining light, a lighthouse, if you will, in Legal Shield, somebody that, I could tell, one, cares about people. Number two, knows how to do the business the right way. And three, makes twice the income that I do as a $200,000 ring earner. And if there's one thing I think we can all agree that we've learned in Legal Shield is, be around the people that you want to be like. Find the people that have what you have, get to know them, and see if you can start doing some of the things that they do. So I'm getting some waiting room pop-ups. I'm not putting those in, so make sure that somebody else does that. I don't want to let anybody in that shouldn't be or whatever. So thanks for the opportunity. The chance to kind of tell my whole story is always fun. When you get up and you do a briefing or you're doing a Zoom PZC for your team, you only get to give, your little 30-second, and I love giving the 5 to 8 minute version. I started out in life really working for my dad in a print shop. That was my first experience of what it was to be an entrepreneur. Of course, in his case, a small business person. Started out making $2 an hour at 10 years old, sweeping the floors, and then when it was the law, he had to start paying me minimum wage while I was going to school. And if I wasn't in a sports season, I would come and work after school or maybe a Saturday. And then it got to the point where even through college, my first couple of years in college, I lived at home so I could save money and keep working at that print shop. And so if you've ever worked for your family before, maybe put in the chat, yes, or I have. But maybe you're like me and you swore you'd never be in that business. But I got out of school at Portland State University, and I looked around for a little while and did some jobby jobs and some waiting tables and retail, but I found myself working back at a print shop. Started in sales for about a year, did a management for about 4 years. And while I was there was a few things that kind of really kind of keyed me to the opportunity of something like this. I was one day I remember I was working that shop and I tried to make decisions as if it was my shop. I tried to treat customers as if they were my customers, not the company's customers. I felt like that was the proper sort of decision model to go through. So I'm there and we hear the boss is coming into town. He took his private flight from Colorado where he lived and owned some other shops into our shop. And we're chatting for a little while. Then he steps outside, then he steps back in and he lights a cigarette in my print shop. And it was at that moment that I realized that that was not my print shop. That as hard as I worked and as much as I made decisions to do the right thing, that ultimately he owned that shop. And there was no way that I was ever going to get to a point where I owned anything in that company. I thought about maybe, and people would ask me, hey, you're going to open a print shop yourself? You're going to work for yourself, whatever. And I looked at the what it cost to get started in a shop like that, tens of thousands of dollars. You start out in huge debt, and then you're just working to pay off that debt. And I also realized that in that environment, in most small business environments, you do have a boss. It's called your customers. They determine your hours. They determine how much money you make. You can add more customers, which just adds more hours. And that linear model was not something that I necessarily saw as the right future. So a guy walked in the office one day, showed us the membership. The membership made total sense to me. I'd actually bought a house, fixed it up, was getting ready to rent it out. And I knew if I was going to be in a landlord-tenant situation, it was going to be wise to have legal help. I also knew that if I was clearing $175 a month on that house, that could afford maybe 1 hour at that time in 1997 of legal services. And that isn't what I wanted to spend that money on. But when, of course, at the time, and I'm assuming we're dealing with some folks that have been around quite a while, but the membership at the time was less than $20 a month. And so it made total sense. And even today, of course, at $30 a month, it's still probably less, has gone up less than things like gasoline and rent and things like that. I mean, it's still obviously a phenomenal value. So a few months later, I was actually falsely accused of hit and run. A total false accusation. The guy was totally lying, but it taught me two important lessons. One, your auto insurance does not cover defensive criminal charges. And two, would you guys agree with me? Put yes in the chat if you agree. Bad things can happen to good people, even if you're not doing anything wrong. And that is a line that I've used for many, many years. And it's something I think we can perhaps put into our presentations. Would you agree? Bad things happen to good people, even if you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, I really think it speaks to the insurance side of our services. That it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And even though you may not be a litigious person, even though you may not be breaking the laws, even though you may be looking to do everything right in this world, you could still seriously need the advice of an attorney because of what somebody else does. And so I started using it, started saving me more than the cost right away. On the way out the door, the guy's like, "Hey, man, you ever look for other ways to make money?" I always think of a guy like with a trench coat with the, "Hey, look at this." But I'm like, I've tried a bunch of things. I've never made any money in any of them. I tried the Big A a couple of times, Amway. I tried, looked at different businesses my friends had done, phone cards, things like that. Well, so I said no, and I realized later that he shouldn't have even done that because, of course, he was in my office offering it to the employees. But bottom line, my best friend came to me with a story about a mutual friend, Larry Lemke. And Larry had actually come back into town from Seattle and approached Sean Stevenson, who a ring earner, Millionaire Club member, my best friend for many years, and he explained this story. Larry had been working this business back in 1987 under a gentleman named James Carter, who was sponsored by Wilburn Smith. James lived in Seattle. Larry would make phone calls out of the phone book sometimes to get people to a Denny's to sit in front of James, do a three-way presentation where James Carter did the presentation. Larry just brought the people there, and Larry made about $5,000 or $6,000 in about 3 months with our company back in 1987. So then the company wanted to license everybody in Washington. We pulled out, but Larry kept his membership in force, but didn't basically do anything else. And our company kept paying him. He earned over $10,000 over the next 10 years based on that 10 weeks of work. Well, I realized that when I quit working for the print shop, one thing was for sure, they were going to quit paying me. And so if I could find something that I could do spare time working around my job, so I didn't have to, cut that income, but I could add to it by taking somebody out to lunch, meeting somebody after work, attending an event on the weekend and inviting somebody out one Saturday a month. I was like, well, this makes sense. And so I just started doing that, just started making, working to take 1 to 2 people out to lunch, marketed a membership about every other time, about every fourth time or so, brought on an associate, worked at different angles, different ways to expose people. And just started, my goal was to make an extra $500 a month, 11 months in 1997 from February to December. I made $3,300. That's what my W or 1099 says. Needless to say, I failed, right? I only made $300 a month, but it taught me that it was possible. I moved up the compensation. Now I'm making more per membership. And about 4 months later, we're getting ready to have our first child. We wanted to move closer to my wife's office as a chiropractor. She was a brand new chiropractor. And so 4th of July, 1998, I declared my independence, walked into my boss's office, said, I have an eye problem. I can't see myself working for you anymore. I did give him a month. Actually, it was right around the 1st of July, but I love that line about Independence Day. I gave him 30 days. They only took 15. When I quit that job, when I started working there, they didn't pay commission the first 30 days because they said, well, that business belonged to somebody else. It was already here when you got here. So when I left, I said, by the way, one thing, I want to make sure that I'm paid for all of July for commissions when I get the check on the 15th of August. Well, yeah, we don't really do that or whatever. I'm like, so on top of helping my wife with her chiropractic office, I'm also working with a legal company. We have a major provider law firm. I could check with them and see what they have to say about the laws around that. Oh, well, we'll look into it and see. And sure enough, I got a call right around the end of the month. Come in 2 weeks, pick up your commission check. And as I did that, he said, this is the only time in our company's history we've ever paid a commission check after somebody's left. I'm like, sounds good to me. Thank you very much. I got to go. And so that's how I started. We bought our house, had a child. I quit my job all in about a 3-month period. I'm like, this thing better work. And if there's one mistake that I made, there's a couple mistakes I probably made at that time. One, I had a mindset. I remember thinking to myself more than once, well, if it doesn't work, and I always go back to the print shop or go back into that business. Well, I wish I hadn't thought that, right? But at the same time, we found a way to make it work. And as my wife starting her business in her first year or two, she'd have a bad month. I'd have a good month. I'd have a good month. She'd have a bad month. I mean, we just kind of made it work. And while we're doing the baby pass and all the other things, young parents. But needless to say, Legal Shield has always been here. They've always paid. They don't make mistakes when it comes to the commissions. And then luckily, a guy named Gene Leiter came along. Actually recruited by Sean, but lived in my house. So Sean placed him underneath me, and Gene Leiter became a 6-figure ring earner, Millionaire Club member as well. About 10 years later, along came Ko Campbillabong. You guys have been around about, 10 years or so. You might remember Ko. He hit the ring in his first year, hit platinum his first year, had already been successful with a mortgage company, as well as previous to that, a financial network marketing company, and had some people in place. And that was exciting. That got me over the top with the 6-figure ring. And people in those organizations still memberships today, even though those guys have gone on to other things. There's still business that continues to pay, people I get to work with, all those things, because I stuck and stayed. I was running briefings. I was doing all the things that the company says we should do to make sure we're successful. Working with great people and good mentors over the years has been a blessing. And now, looking at it, we paid for our first kid's college education, now getting his master's, helping with that. Our second was able to get a full ride to Oregon State University in the rowing program, got her master's in supply chain logistics, and is now pursuing her career with the national team for rowing, with the hope and goal of making the Olympics. And my last one is playing basketball at Seattle Pacific University, also on a full ride scholarship at a private university up in Seattle. So I believe a lot of that is because I'm able to work from home, because I'm able to be there for their games and coach them and, be a big part of their life at the end. And with the training and personal development that you should obviously be doing sort of anyway, but that Legal Shield really obviously suggests, I almost said demands, it's optional. You could choose to do personal development or not. You can choose to read the books. You can choose to listen to the YouTube videos. You can choose to be on the trainings. But obviously, it's a choice that's worked out very well for our family. I feel blessed every day that I get to be a part of this amazing mission, and that we all get to lock arms and provide people with the opportunity to work from home, make as much money as they want, never have anybody tell them like they could have at the print shop, this is when you work, this is when you're free, this is how much money you make, this is what your daily life looks like, this is what your future looks like. No one in my life did I want to give that power to. I wanted that power, and Legal Shield that's definitely provided that power. So appreciate the opportunity to share. As I mentioned, Mr. Tanner, thank you, and open for any questions.
Hey, thanks very much. And I'm going to ask a question on behalf of everybody, because while we do have folks that are well established in their business here, and by the way, I hadn't ever heard your full story, and I love hearing that. So the question I'm going to ask on everybody's behalf is, because while we have people that are well established here in the business watching today or watching the replay, we also have folks that are launching their business or for the first time are considering themselves to want to be full service associates and open groups as well. And so I was wondering if you could speak to the preparation, the mental side of it, perhaps, because I know you're the person that gets the phone call often when somebody wants to get started opening groups. You're one of the people that we rely on to help those folks navigate the waters of the unknown of doing decision maker meetings, enrolling the employees, and then servicing those accounts successfully into the future. Maybe you could speak a little bit to that, and if you want to add anything to that, of course, you're welcome to as well.
I appreciate that. No, I used field trainers when I was growing up in the business. Certainly, that helped me tremendously. A gentleman named Brian Emmett, who was actually under Mark Brown, was a real mentor to me. Then now, of course, as a field trainer, there's nothing I love better than kind of helping somebody get started. And like one example, one gentleman I met, I think he invited, I don't know, he reached out to me and said, hey, I need a field trainer. Actually was his sponsor out in Colorado, said, hey, I got a guy. Turned out he also was running a networking company. I don't know how to put it, but like a mastermind group. And he invited me to that. I still work with that mastermind group. We went up and opened one of the guys in his group. And this gentleman has now gotten sick and can't work, but I still did that group for him and split that group 50-50. So there's so much leverage available. And I would just say this, in terms of getting started, one, watch other people give the presentation to your prospects. Man, what leverage is that? Your contact, somebody else does the sale. You learn while you earn. And that's huge power. Number two is get good at just presenting the membership. Take somebody from don't know to decision. If you can do that, I just made sure I could do that on a one-on-one basis because I knew that group was coming for me. I could see that when I went full-time, I wanted to be able to walk into a group of employees. And the first group I ever did was actually for one of my best friends. He's now my financial planner, but it was at a tire shop, and showed the guy the business plan. He bought it, went back in. This is after I'd watched some people do some groups. And I remember selling like 7 out of 10 in about 30 minutes just for buying pizza. And that's when I saw that group was a possibility for me to be able to control my own income. I looked at that as my sort of salary. And then I looked at my team as like my commission, the extra on top that could fluctuate. Now, of course, it switches over time. Now the team is the one that creates the consistent income. And if I go out and do some extra group and do some extra work, that kind of becomes my extra commission. But, and when people call me, for being a field trainer, so the field training service, and I will say this too, the system and the trainings and the consistency that Business Solutions has put together with the stuff that Mike Riches does is phenomenal. We had nothing like that when we were growing up in the business. And so if somebody decides they want to make group their major and recruiting their minor, Man, it is 100% possible. And if you want to make recruiting your major and still be able to do group and be a full service associate, write small business plans, plug into some of those as well. But you've got that for your team. And Mr. Tanner, I think you've done an amazing job of supporting people in the group side of the business that no doubt going to create more and more millionaires in your organization, my friend. So it's fun to watch that and to see that. And it's all because of the system the company's put in place that if we just adhere to the system, amazing things will happen for sure.
Great answer. Thank you so much for that. We're going to let you get back to your day. No, you're welcome to stay. I'm going to go through the incentives and announcements of what's coming up this week in Business Solutions, and you're certainly welcome to hang out with us. But I appreciate your time, and I know your time's valuable. I also know that you're on the West Coast there, so you've probably got the full day ahead of you as well. So thanks again on behalf of everybody. You'll see in the chat what this has meant to folks to have you here with us today, and we really appreciate you. And I'm looking forward, as I've said to Brenda as well. I've been a lot of places in the last 12 months. I just got back from Atlanta yesterday. That was my 23rd Super Saturday in 12 months. And while I enjoyed every place I've been, there's only been a few places where I said, I got to get back there. And that trip to Washington and Oregon absolutely just solidified that I have to spend some time with y'all up there, because you know how to have fun and you've got a beautiful part of the country. And I can't wait to go up there and hang out. And hang out with you guys again. So thanks very much.
Well, and if I can put in a plug, I'm picking up some speaking gigs and starting to do a little bit more next year. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Boston and all the cool history that's on the East Coast. Just a slight little plug.
You got it. We might end up keeping you once we get you out here.
Well, I'm not so sure about my kids like that. So, all right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and you can continue to share your thoughts in the chat for Mr. Bishop. We appreciate him coming on with us today. And I just want to make sure that everybody is in the know, because it's one thing to be excited. I want you to be excited. I don't think there's any harm in being excited. You know what I do think? I've seen a lot of harm come from people saying, I don't want to be excited. Don't give me any of that excitement. Just give me the facts. I'm going to give you the facts, but if you can't get excited, then we need to talk about that, because the folks that are going to get this membership from you are excited that for the first time, maybe in their entire lives as adults, they have a chance to have advocacy and a voice, to not get pushed around or bullied. So what you do is so important. I want you to be excited about what you do. I want you to feel good. I want you to walk into every room with your shoulders back and your chest out and your chin up because of who you are and what you do. But I also want you to be prepared. So let's just talk real quick, briefly about what we've got now. We'll go right to this first, because this is the topic we were just talking about, is working with a field trainer. And we've got a first group opened incentive that goes on through the end of the year. So if you've never opened a group before, you can go and do it by yourself, try to figure it out, trip and fall, maybe say some things you don't understand, get questions you can't answer. And if you get that group open, you get a $250 cash bonus. And boy, will you have earned it. But if you take a field trainer with you, if you take an expert, someone who's done this over and over and over again, never today gets questions they don't know the answer to, is always prepared, has a great decision maker meeting and a fantastic enrollment, can create comfort and certainty in the minds of the audience. You can take that field trainer with you, split the group 50-50, and double your first group open incentive bonus to $500. That is pretty awesome. So let's do that. Let's get your first group open. Now, a whole bunch of you've done that. You've got your first group open. So I just want to remind you all that you're in one of two categories in Business Solutions. With the Business Solutions and the Full Service Associate leaderboards, you have the ability to join us in Montego Bay, Jamaica. All expenses paid. Round trip airfare for two, accommodations, your food and your fun, and you get to hang out with me. That's got to be a bonus in it by itself. We're going to do this. It's going to be a blast. We want you there with us. Some of you are already using the Business Solutions Summer Getaway promotion to lock yourself in. You're writing $5,000 worth of Personal Solutions Premium. You're getting yourself ranked in there in the top 50 to win that trip. But this is a program, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because this is a program that launched months and months ago. And some of you are brand new and you weren't in the business when that program launched, but you have been in the business since September, and you're part of the Jamaica-bound Full Service Associate Leaderboard, which was announced in Dallas, went from 50 positions to 100. That's 100 trips for two in this one leaderboard. So lock in yourself in the leaderboard. Here's how you qualify. It's your personal premium times your personal recruits. And then also 50% of all of your business solutions premium, your group business, your employee benefits business, and then all of your small business personal premium. Just protect individuals and families and business owners and their employees, and you'll be on this trip with us. Be consistent. And you can earn bonus points for helping your new associates fast start qualify. You can be there with us July 16th through the 20th. As a matter of fact, put in the chat for me. Just put yes in the chat if you are going to walk this beach with me next July, because I'm going. I want to see some yeses. You know what? I've been going on these trips for years and years and years and years, but I haven't been going on the trips. Look at all those yeses. I haven't been going on the trips my entire career, because when I started in this business, I didn't prioritize the trip. I didn't understand how much fun it would be. I didn't, there was a lot of self-talk about whether or not I deserved something like what this company offers, a trip somewhere glamorous around the world. And I didn't know. And I had a voice in my head saying, that's not for you anyway. But I've silenced that voice. And so now when our company announces a trip and they lay out the dates of that trip, I just go into my calendar and I block those dates off, even though it's a year out, because I'm a business owner. So I don't think about Friday or the next Friday. I think about the year, 5 years from now. And you are too. You're a business owner. I want you to think a year out, 2 years out, 5 years out. But most importantly, I want you to know that we want you on this trip with us. Now, we have the ability for you to go in one of many categories. And there's going to be a point in time soon. I mean, now we're into October. We've got new people joining us. Unfortunately, we're going to get to a point where we're going to stop really talking about the Jamaica trip, because we'll have gotten so deep into the qualification season that it'll no longer be possible for new people to join us on the trip. So we won't talk about it in front of new people. But right now, there's still time for everybody to lock in and be there with us. There's going to be hundreds of us there. The company's spending millions of dollars. You deserve to be on this trip, and I want you there with me. Now, that's not all we've got. And if it was all we got, that'd be pretty good. But we also have, this is the closing quarter of our 2023 10 cash bonus levels program. What does that mean? That means there's a $100,000 worth of bonus money on the line. You've heard me say this before. Maybe you're tired of hearing it. But these bonuses are essentially us getting paid twice to do the work once, right? Because we're getting our 1 year advance commissions. We're setting additional business into our asset, which is our residual income, our book of business. And yet at the same time, the company says, listen, focus your attention, do more, get paid more. And that's what we have here. Now, some of you are brand new and you're saying, listen, oh man, Jim, if I was here on January 1st, I'd pick up all $100,000 of this. And I believe you. As a matter of fact, we're going to be celebrating several people that are already about to cross the $100,000 level, the level 10, having collected all of the cumulative dollars on the table. But maybe you're just getting started with us now. All I'm saying is, here it is, screenshot it, take whatever you can off the table. Write $5,000 in business and pick up an additional $1,250. These are cumulative bonuses. Maybe you're going to write $10,000 in business before the year's over, and you're going to earn $5,000 in total cumulative bonuses. I mean, there's a lot of money on the table for you, but go for it, because it's worth it. Because every time you earn one of these bonuses, it's because you protected more people with our services. A couple more things that are focused on year end is our Sapphire and Emerald Elite qualifications for 2023. Here's how this works. For Sapphire Elite, you write $3,500 in personal business solutions premium for the whole year. So even our full service associates, you have a chance certainly to qualify for Sapphire Elite. And then in all of 2024, you get a dedicated Sapphire support line. You get executive director level commissions on your groups of 200 employees or more, regardless of your qualification level. And then there's other incentives that'll be communicated directly to you in 2024. So it's an entire year of benefits for doing something that you can absolutely do and finish in the fourth quarter. And press a little harder, and you will certainly have earned it, especially if you're new. But if you've been doing this all year, you probably already locked in Emerald Elite. $8,000 in personal business solutions premium in 2023 makes you Emerald Elite for all of 24. Which means you get the Emerald Elite Account Manager Concierge line. You get Enrollment Communication Leadership Concierge. You get all of the bells and whistles that this company can provide. Platinum level commissions on groups of 200 plus employees, regardless of your actual rank. private experiences on the trips at the convention, all kinds of fun. Okay, so qualify for Emerald Elite. It's $8,000. And if you're not sure where you are in pursuit of Sapphire or Emerald, I'll give you a piece of advice that comes from love. If you're not sure where you are on Sapphire or Emerald, you're probably not going to qualify because you won't do it by accident. Now, somebody focusing on Sapphire or Emerald Elite qualification for the year will help a lot of people. So do that intentionally and qualify for all the bonuses that are on the table. And maybe you're saying to yourself, listen, I need support. I can't just throw a number up on my dream board and go for it. We're here to support you throughout the week. Tomorrow, our B2B prospecting blitz will be happening as it does every Tuesday. And these are on LegalShieldCalendar.com, by the way, but I'm just calling these out for you. And I'm going to go quickly to respect your time. Our Canadian Employee Benefits Certification Training is this Friday, the 20th. And you'll see that that's in Central Time there on the screen. But that is a powerful opportunity for you to get the Business Solutions Canadian version. I'm going to be up in Vancouver, Canada in November. So I'm going to be plugged into that because I want to make sure that I've got the best up-to-date information on the Canadian marketplace. And maybe you're never going to open a group in Canada, but I hope you want to expand your business to Canada by recruiting and developing leaders there that also do this business. So make sure that you know what's going on in Canada. Cost $0. Just have to pre-register. Then we also have the US version on Friday, October 27th. So that's a little bit further out, but I want to make sure that everybody here knows about that. That's 11 to 3:30 Central Time on Friday, the 27th. That'll be Mr. Mike Riches, our Vice President of Sales Training, covering everything you need to know to open employee benefit groups with Legal Shield and ID Shield in the United States. Our CDLP, our Commercial Truck Driver Training, is Saturday, October 28th. Now, there is a small cost to this, $49, and we want to make sure you're aware of that. Everything else that I just went over, there's no cost, but there is a $49 fee to get CDLP qualified with Mr. Alan Roman and Mr. John Hoffman in California. Mr. Roman is consistently known as the expert in commercial driver legal plan. Make sure that you're plugged into that. And I just got one other thing I want to say to you as we wrap up, because I want to get you back to your day, whether it's 9:30 Pacific or 12:30 Eastern. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to make sure this becomes a recurring theme in your business, that we have a responsibility as business owners to ourselves, and that responsibility is above and beyond everything else, to go to bed tonight knowing that we did 2 presentations today. Now, that might mean 2 decision maker meetings. It might mean 2 enrollments. It might mean that you've met with 2 people at a coffee shop. You may have sent 2 people a video from the Prospect app and they actually watched it. However you achieve 2 presentations today and tomorrow and the next day, that is what makes you an agent of change in the lives of people in your community. Because the fact is that people are waking up by the hundreds of millions today having no idea that Legal Shield and ID Shield exist, living in a world that pushes them around, bullies them, and treats them unfairly. The fact is that we all know that in the United States of America, it's often easier to have a big company take advantage of us than it is to get our rights protected without Legal Shield. Because at $200, $300, $400 an hour for an attorney, most people just take it on the chin instead of taking it in their checking account. We change that. What you do matters, and it's important. And 2 presentations a day is how you celebrate and honor the power that you have as a Legal Shield independent associate, making people aware of what we do on a daily basis. And also 1 weekly meeting. This is the Dave Savula formula, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago. 2 presentations a day, 1 weekly meeting. You are in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself unless you choose to be. And I encourage you and challenge you to get together with other like-minded individuals, the other associates in your team, the other associates that are not in your team but are in your market. Gather with them weekly. Have a cup of coffee, talk, brainstorm, strategize. Invite guests. Do a presentation so they can learn what Legal Shield is in a comfortable, relaxed environment. This can happen in any coffee shop, any place creative. You don't need to spend money, rent rooms, put up projectors. None of that is necessary. This is about collaboration. This is about community. This is about getting together and working as a team. We all rise together with 2 presentations a day and 1 weekly meeting. Folks, 12:35 p.m. on the East Coast, 9:35 a.m. on the West Coast. We are at the midway point of the month of October, the first month of the 4th quarter. and it feels good. And I'm so excited that I get to do this with you. Thanks to Mr. Bishop for joining us and sharing his words of encouragement and wisdom. Thanks for all of you for showing up in your business today. Now let's get out of here and go do the work that we do. And by the way, I respect the work that you do, and I'm so excited that I get to do it with you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.